and welcome to Churchy Chats with a Church Girl. My name is Alicia Wiley. If this is your first time here, I am the owner and creator of A Church Girl, which is a lifestyle brand and a clothing line that seeks to inspire and uplift everyone we have the privilege of connecting with. This is the third episode of the second season, and we are rolling. We have a great guest tonight. I can't wait to get him in, but before we do that, I need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I need you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can now view us on all those platforms, so make sure you connect with us there. Again, I said our guest for the day is going to be bananas. We're going to have a good old churchy conversation. So let's go on and get our guest in. Elder Mark, welcome to
Hey,
Churchy Chats.
hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I told you I'll be better when I get an alligator laptop cover, but until then,
Listen, you
I'm
know
holding
what?
on.
I'm gonna
I'm
have
not.
to send you one.
I'm
That's
not
what I'm
doing
gonna
as
have to
well
do.
as you. Give me a
I'm gonna
blue
have
one.
to send you one. I think that's what's gonna have to happen.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm ready
Say
to
hello
receive.
to the Churchy Chats audience.
Hey, Churchy Chats audience. I hope that you are well. I am doing what I hope you're doing, and what I hope you've already done, and that's hitting that share button. So get in here and let's have a great time and let's have a great conversation.
Yes, let's do it. So, Elder Mark, I too grew up in church. My dad's a pastor.
Mhm.
I am very involved in my father's ministry. Can you just shed a little light on what it was like and what it's still like? Because you're still very active
Mhm.
in your parents' ministry. So, can you just shed a little light on what that was like for you, what it is like for you?
Absolutely. And I think the first thing to say, and I have to begin by just telling you thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. I am a huge fan of all things excellence, and you are certainly on the cutting edge of really trying to push the conversation forward. And so I'm grateful that you allowed me to be here and to share your platform with you. You're doing great things, hence the
Thank you so much.
laptop cover.
You know
Uh,
what?
Great. To answer your question, I think that it's a great one because, as you said, I'm PK. My brother and sister and I, of course, are PKs. But I think what makes us unique and really what
Hmm.
kind of influences our involvement in our parents' ministry is the fact that we're not first generation PKs, we're fifth
Okay.
generation PKs, which
Wow.
means, and we have it on both sides of our family. So we're aliens. I don't know anybody like us.
Me
What
neither.
that means is we're PKs who are being raised by two PKs.
Hmm.
We're both raised by two
By
PKs.
PKs. Wow.
You understand? So I think that a lot of the stereotypical um, issues that we hear from preachers' kids, and certainly not minimizing it because it's real. But I have so many peers that have a really kind of a jaded testimony uh,
Hmm.
about their experience as a preacher's kid because their experience has been negative, right? I
Yes.
feel that church stole my parents. I feel that church came first. My father's ministry robbed me of my childhood. I hear
Yes.
that so many times, and for so many people, again,
Hmm.
that is true. But I'm grateful to God that because mom was a PK and dad was a PK, they were able to kind of navigate around some of those roadblocks because they lived it, right? And so
Absolutely.
for us, being involved in my father's ministry has been and is just a great joy. The pleasure of being able to do ministry together, to do
Hmm.
life together, is really just priceless, and it really has given me a greater value and appreciation for legacy and for just the benefit and the power of working together, and really just seeing what can be done when we really bond and get behind a vision and push it together. So for us, for me, certainly not minimizing anybody else's experience.
Hmm.
For me, it's been great, and I'm extremely grateful for the chance that I've had to make this my story.
And that's amazing because often I hear horror stories as you have kind of explained, and
Absolutely.
my story is not a horror story at all. And sometimes it's like, Um, I can't really relate. And like you said, not that I'm trying to minimize or diminish your
Not at
experience,
all.
but I have been fortunate enough to first of all to make the decision to be in ministry with my father, with my parents.
Right.
It was not something that was forced upon me.
That's
And
huge.
as I have grown, you know,
Mhm.
although I always joke with him and tell him that I was drafted
Right.
into this thing, but it's kind of a part of it. But they really look at me as an addition to the team. They listen to me, they respect my views and things like that. So I am so fortunate and really blessed as you are, to have a situation that has been positive throughout our lives.
Right.
So, notwithstanding the bike incident, everything has pretty been
You know about the
everything has been pretty good,
let's talk
right?
about that. Now I got mad all over again. Right, right, right.
I just thought that was hilarious when I was because I had your sister on my show
Okay, that's
um
right. That's right.
first season, and I actually connected with her via Instagram, and then when I found out that it was a family affair, I was like, you know what? I think this would be an excellent guest to have and to continue
Oh
the
wow.
conversation about the PK life and going into ministry.
Absolutely.
Which
Absolutely.
has its challenges. And we're going to get into that right after our first commercial break. We'll be right back.
Let's do it.
Bowtie Brown Productions presents Listen to My Thoughts with J. Damian Brown on Facebook every Tuesday at 9:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Listen to My Thoughts, a Bowtie Brown production.
So, Elder Mark, we're going to talk about your actual ministry in just a little bit, but being growing up as a PK and being involved in your father's ministry, can you talk to us about knowing the right time to launch your own ministry? How did you know, okay, it's time for me to kind of do my own thing? And were there difficulties involved? And I ask this particularly because the closer you are and the closer you work together, you know, you not being there
Mhm.
as much as maybe you were before, or serving in the same capacities, can kind of break your heart a little bit because you don't want to leave your parents, you know without what they need. So can you talk to us about launching your ministry, and was it a smooth transition, and how did you deal with breaking away a little bit?
Well, you know what? This is a great question. But this let me explain. I have not actually launched my own ministry apart from what I'm doing at Dad's church. So let me
Okay.
explain, because I know you're talking about spirit and truth, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is a great question, right? Here's the crazy thing. What people don't understand, or what a lot of people, and I guess, it looks like it's its own whatever. But the thing about Spirit and Truth is that Spirit and Truth is the online weekly ministry arm of Young
Mm,
Leaders Conference, basically, right?
okay.
So
Okay.
Spirit and Truth emerged, as so many things did, out of the pandemic. And I was looking and I said, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to have our conference this year. 2020,
Hmm.
2019 was the most recent YLC we've been able to do. And 5,000 plus people, convention
Wow.
center, you know, five presidential candidates, Congressman John Lewis, paid off
Wow.
paid off $2 million worth of medical debt,
Come
all
on.
of this stuff. And the city council comes out, they declare it a YLC day. We're killing it. 2020 is supposed to be the year. We're looking
Hmm.
at 8 to 10,000 people. We had signed the deal, agreed to terms on the arena and the convention center. So we're going to be one conference, two locations. It was the year. COVID-19 breaks out. The events are shut down, canceled. So I'm saying, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to do our conference. What can I do to still keep our community engaged and to keep us
Hmm.
together? And so from that, Spirit and Truth emerged as kind of like a weekly revival evangelistic arm of the
Okay.
conference. And since then, it has grown and emerged, but it's still strictly online. Now, to make a long story short, we were able to acquire the studio building that I'm in now, our
Hmm.
20,000 square foot facility. God's been extremely kind to us, but we're building the studio as a studio. So Spirit and Truth is housed here, but other ministries are going to be using this space. We've already recorded one virtual convocation for another group that actually airs this weekend. We've launched our streaming network while here. Our master classes and programs, all of that takes place here. We have a comedy show that we're shooting here next week. We've got another virtual communication coming up this month. We have a live recording. We have album releases. All these things are going to be done here. But Spirit and Truth is not actually a church. It's just the evangelistic arm of our conference. Now, with that being said, your question is still extremely valid, because even though it's not a church, it's still a ministry. And so COVID, of course, has shifted, shuffled, whatever term you want to use, how everything works. But because of COVID, we've been able to do Spirit and Truth with no hiccup, no interference, no conflict with what we're doing at Dad's church. And the way we've done that or been able to do that is because, and here's the crazy part, nobody believes when I say it, we do all of the Spirit and Truth stuff. Now, there are several times where we go live with people in the room, but a lot of that is pre-recorded, which means we take 3 days, and this is, nobody believes me when I say this, we'll take 3 days and we will record an entire month worth of services in 3 days.
I believe you.
It's 8 or 9 services that we do in 72 hours, which is exhausting. It is insane. It is ridiculous, but it's extremely effective. Now, the benefit of that, to come to the heart of your question, is that allows me, and not just me, but everybody on our team, they all serve at their local assembly. So by doing it this way, and this is the heart of the question, it allows us to still maintain faithfulness, accountability. It allows us to still maintain, belonging and schedule obligations at our home churches, which keeps everything where it needs to be. Because, I think my pastor, for sure, I'll speak for him, he understands, well, yeah, they're going to be doing this, but I know that when I'm ready to do such and such, I know he's going to be here. I know he's going to be there. And I really think that that's what really matters, because at the end of the day, faithfulness is so hard to find. And especially for our generation, so many of us, and this is just be real, especially in the Black church, we have this idea that if you're not the senior pastor, right? If you're not the presiding bishop, if you're not the chief apostle, forget regular apostle schmossel. If you ain't the chief, you ain't
you're not doing nothing.
You ain't nothing. We don't stand. You walk in, you ain't not. We've got this flawed, jaded perspective. And so what ends up happening is we end up creating this culture where you got all of these great number twos that are out here running, trying to be a number one, because they've been led. If I'm not number one, then I don't matter. And that's a trick. Not even being deep, but that's a trick of the enemy. I mean, literally, that is a trick of the enemy to convince us or to keep us into cycles of, and this is why every generation in some of our contexts has to start over, because we don't build houses, we don't build ministries that have other gifts in the house. So you got this young dynamic pastor. Well, 30 years from now, pastor closes his eyes, he goes home to be with the Lord, and there's nobody left to help the work go forward, because all of the gifted, talented, skilled people have been pushed out or made to believe that they got to go start their own church. And so I think for me, my mindset is this, and you tell me if this is crazy. I can reach so many more people doing my virtual thing, ministering online, without the overhead. And I don't mean that in just a financial perspective. I mean the spiritual overhead, the emotional overhead, the time overhead of having to try to be a pastor. No, I'm still serving. I'm still and still touching 20, 30,000 people a week with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So for me, I'm not in a rush. I'm not pressed like, oh, so-and-so. And I would be, let's be very honest here. I would be less than honest if I didn't tell you that there weren't moments or times. And I mean, I'm looking around. I'm like, man, how old am I? Man, so-and-so, he doing his thing. He got a church, and so-and-so, he got a church. And man, this one, he's killing it up there and out there and over there. And man, I wonder what would happen. Like, all of these conversations are real conversations that you have. Man, I'm doing really well with with my online stuff, what would happen if I did? And then you have to just come back and remember, wait, what did God tell you to do? And
Absolutely.
and you don't have to be rushed. You don't have to feel like you're behind.
Mm-hmm.
Let God do what he wants to do and let him do it in his time. And
Absolutely.
that's the best thing I can say about that.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful sentiment because I don't really like I preach and I put that in parentheses, um, but pastoring is not really something that I desire. My dad may have a different opinion on that, but I am okay with in this area of my life's mission being to hold up his arms and to be there for him and to serve him. Like I'm legitimately okay with serving him in ministry for all of my days or all of his days. And I think
Legitimately
that is rare.
legitimately okay. That's extremely rare because a lot of us we're okay with it when we don't see an opportunity, right? We're
Hmm.
okay with it when it's the only option. But the test of whether or not you're okay with it for real is when you could do something else and you
Absolutely.
still decide, no, this is where I need to be right now. And that takes a
Absolutely.
tremendous I can't, in this I can't really see all the comments like that, but I do know that there are people in here that need to know that it takes a tremendous sense of just security within yourself, to be very honest. A tremendous sense of security within yourself
Yes.
to be okay serving another man's vision. And let's not forget, the Bible is right. And I know that sounds like a duh, but no,
Hmm.
the Bible is right. If you are not faithful over that
That's
which
right.
is another man, not faithful with an agenda, not faithful
Absolutely.
with the deadline on like, okay, now I'm gonna be faithful, but if I don't see a payoff in 6 months, I'm out. I'm doing my no. If you can be faithful over that, if you won't be faithful over that which is another man's, who will make you ruler over that which is your own?
That's right.
If we could make up our mind to never forget that, the world would be a better place. Because
And
what
I
we in
completely
our
agree with
generation
that.
especially is we need, but what does the Bible say? A faithful man or woman
Hmm.
who can find. Like
Who
where
can find?
that's so rare. Like,
Absolutely. And to have the love and support of my family in the areas that I do my own thing, in the areas that I feel like I am effective, and the way I want to do ministry, which is through media and through fashion, and that type of thing. To have your family support
absolutely,
means everything, right?
absolutely.
So we're building each other, we're uplifting each other, we're supporting each other in such a way that it just works.
Yeah,
It just works really well.
exactly.
Um, and you spoke to a little bit about COVID and things that happened that weren't necessarily a plan. And I have noticed that you have been working assiduously to help people understand the importance of, I said I hated using this word, but I use it, pivoting, right, into media and into the not necessarily the new normal because we will get back to church and all of that good stuff, but it is a component that can no longer be ignored if you want to reach certain people, if you want your ministry to have a certain impact. Can you just talk to us a little bit about how that journey has been going for you? Has it been a fight in some areas helping people, or have most people been open to the conversation and willing to move the ministry to a bit of a different place?
That's a great question, and I think that to be very honest with you, progress is always hard,
Hmm.
but it becomes a lot easier when it's the only option. All right. So I
That's
say
very
that to
true.
say that with COVID, there were a lot of people BC before coronavirus
You
that
know what?
were,
That's the first time I heard that one.
amen. Feel free. Uh, there were a lot of churches specifically and ministers and ministries especially that had this approach, and it's going to sound crazy now, but it's
Hmm.
true. 14 months ago, 15 months ago, there were a lot of churches that had the approach that social media is essentially the devil.
Yeah.
Social media is it's a trick of the enemy. The internet is the devil's playground, and
Hmm.
church saints ain't got no business on that Facebook and all that.
Right.
Well, it's easy to say that when you've got the option of doing it the way you've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when that Facebook is the only avenue you have to literally reach out and try to touch the people that you say you've been called to serve? So the crisis and the lack of options made it a lot easier to adjust, because it's at this point you pivot or you die. You
Mm-hmm.
pivot or you perish.
Yes, that's a
And
word.
so because of that, I've discovered that people have been a lot more receptive, because what option do we all just saw that we're one news report away from the world being shut down.
Mm-hmm.
One virus, one, one bomb. I mean, not to be morbid, not to be spooky
Sure.
or scary, but we're living in that kind of time. Like one push of a button and the world as we know it is over. Sure, there's great debate. Well, was COVID manufactured? Was it just natural? Da, da, da. We don't know, and we may never know. But we
Right.
do know that people have the option or the opportunity and the technology to create these kinds of things. What happens if we only can do church the way we've done it, or the way we did it in grandmama's day, in great
Mm.
grandmama's day, da da da. And so it's been a little bit more receptive, but it's still hard to sometimes convince people to change when they don't want to change. And so I think that what just has to continue to happen is we just have to continue to make sure it's clear that if you don't pivot, you will not prosper. And if you don't pivot, it's much more likely that you'll perish. And so I really think it's part of my mandate, part of my assignment, part of my responsibility to usher people into that pivot, into that next step, into the next wave. So that's kind of my perspective and my view on it.
And that's amazing because um, I am sometimes the person like, okay, here's what we need to do, and if you don't want to do it, fine. It's cool. It's all good.
Yeah.
That's on you. But we do need somebody out there that is willing to, help people. I know that my responsibility. We were streaming before COVID-19. We had an online presence. Of course, it wasn't the same, but I even spoke to somebody that I work with. I was like, you know what? Maybe we should, start going to churches and helping them and, getting them started and getting them going.
Mhm.
But I talked to some of my friends, and one of my friends said, well, we didn't start doing online church. I said, well, what happened? What did you do? And she said, well, I guess, for a couple of Sundays they didn't have church at all. And then they just started having church again, at the height of the pandemic. And my mind
How
was
sad.
completely blown. I was like, wait, y'all never, like, so technically you never stopped having church. I don't, I don't know. My mental, wasn't able to completely comprehend that because that came at a great risk. It really
Yeah.
came at a great risk. So I appreciate the work that you are doing in attempting to help people to move a little more closer to this media age. As you said, we don't have a choice right now. We didn't have a choice in March of last year. I didn't, God knows, if somebody would have asked me on January 1,
Right.
2020, if I thought we would be out of our churches for an entire year.
That's crazy. Never gone a year. I've never gone weeks without going to church.
Right.
What?
A year? Yeah. So
You
this
were
has become the only way,
right.
and the fellowship of the saints is a real thing. You know, being around other Christians for strength, for encouragement,
Yes.
for the things that we need is a real thing. So I'm super kind of old school. One of my favorite scriptures, forsake not the assembly,
Right.
but it is so important now because this is the assembly, and when we come back, it will still be such an important aspect of what we do.
Right. I think that's so crucial what you just said, because I think what the pandemic in part has done is it has forced us to redefine some
Hmm.
of our key concepts and terms. Like you said so
Yes.
well, forsake not the assembling of yourself. That's Bible. It's
Hmm.
not That's not a denominational thing. That's not what I
Right.
do for these races or for this culture or for this content. No, that's the Bible. If we are believers, we are designed to assemble. But at some
Mm-hmm.
point, we have to look and say, well, wait a minute. What does assembling actually mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
does assemble simply mean we have to be in the same space or in the same physical space? Or I
Right.
have to touch one another? Or does assembly speak to a coming together, a sharing of community? If so, that doesn't exclusively take place in person.
In the church,
We
absolutely.
can we are assembled online right now.
Yes.
So I think we're going to have to really, really redefine some of our terms and terminologies, and I think that's going to be essential for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am actually excited, you know, about the pivot. I'm excited about the stretch and the push that it gave us not to remain in a place that we were so used to doing the same thing week after week. And
Mhm.
yes, the Holy Spirit has his way and, we praise and we worship, but I wonder if we would have been stretched in this way, if we would have extended ourselves in a way, if we weren't forced to do that. So I'm actually grateful, not that we're out of our buildings, but
Right.
that we were forced to stretch and really see what we can do to reach people and really take our ministries to the next level when we didn't have a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
We would have stayed in our they call it the comfort zone for a reason. It's
It's
comfortable.
comfortable.
Right? And the only thing that would make you leave, this is based just human interaction. The only thing
hmm
that would make me leave a posture or a place of comfort is if what was once comfortable becomes now
becomes
uncomfortable or
uncomfortable. hmm
so I love my little nest, but if the tree my nest is in gets knocked down, I can't stay in my little nest no more because it's been destroyed.
Absolutely.
I gotta move. I gotta build another
Absolutely.
nest. I gotta create another habitat. I gotta create
Yes.
another environment to do what I do to get back to that place that I belong. So I'm with
Absolutely. There's a leak in this old building, and we're
you.
not
And
moving on to glory,
huh?
but we
Hey,
got to move.
come on. Got to move.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk all about YLC. I'm so excited to hear all about it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. So we all know, well, if you don't know, you're going to know in just a few minutes. YLC is a movement. It is growing by leaps and bounds. But let's start at the beginning, Elder Mark. Tell us, what is YLC and when was that vision birthed in you? When did you decide this is what God has given me to do?
Um, well, appreciate you for your kind words, first of all. Um, I think back to, and you can't get away from this whole origin story of being,
hmm
5 generations deep, because that is really what has influenced
Roots.
all of this, right? Because of that 5 generations of ministry and family and all of this, I've been blessed to see conferences, conventions, literally all of my life. Like I was the
hmm
baby in the day sessions at the National Convention with a
Right.
tuxedo on, right? Listening to the business meeting about what the Brotherhood Auxiliary brought in, and that was me, right? So my mother, by training and by trade, is a certified event planner. So
Okay.
yeah, so she meetings, conventions, conferences. I've seen her do that all my life. She did it for my grandfather's organization.
hmm
And so because of that, I'm sitting in these rooms and I'm sitting in these spaces and I'm sitting in these, planning meetings that are happening around the kitchen table, that are
hmm
happening at the house. And I'm sitting on the floor playing with my cars or whatever, but I'm listening and I'm intaking conversations about attrition and room rates and hotel nights and facility charges and all of this stuff and registration. I'm taking all this in. And so I want to always preface this answer with that, because I think it would be unfair for people to look at what God has done with YLC and say, well, man, how come my stuff didn't grow like that? We're not the same. And that's not because I'm smarter,
Sure.
no goodness of my own. I come from this. I've been in church all my life. I've seen how events come together. So with that in mind, the other side of that is I've also seen how redundant, how pointless, if we're going to be just honest, how unnecessary a lot of our conferences are. Because I'm looking and I'm like, this is the same conference so-and-so had with a different flyer. It's many of the same speakers.
Yes.
Just kind of a different flyer.
Right. Sort of.
Sort of a different flyer.
Different color.
Different color, right? Same everything.
Right.
And I'm like, man, what would happen if our generation could do something different? Like, what would that look like? And so what happened was I decided, you know what, we're going to do something about this. And so my conference started as just an opportunity to put people together from across racial and denominational lines for the purpose initially of facilitating conversation between generations. Because what I was looking at when we first started is not only is everybody having the same conference, like it's the same it's the same thing. Not only is that the case, but I'm also realizing that there's this intergenerational beef of sorts, right?
Yes.
And the fathers, all the sons are bastards and they don't want to listen and they don't want to serve. And then the sons, all the fathers are Saul and they jealous. They trying to keep us back. So I'm looking, by benefit of having a healthy relationship with my father, spiritual and natural. I'm like, yo, something's got to happen to bring the generations together. God called the young because they're strong, but the old men because they know the way. What would happen if we would make these two worlds reconcile? So that's how it started. No worship service, all classroom, because I'm like, yo, everybody's having these. It's just we having church and we put in conference. So that's not a conference. So when we first started, we were one room, no breakouts, 50 people. It wasn't even a conference because, again, term is played out and I know what a conference is and this isn't that. So we called it a retreat. We did the first retreat, 50 people show up from 11 states, 2 countries, and you can't tell me nothing, right? Hey, somebody call Bishop Jakes and tell him
watch his back.
There's a new sheriff in town. I have 50 living, breathing people. And what? Who will tell me anything? All right. 50 people come. The next year we do it again. 100 people come. The next year we do it again. 200 people come. So it's like, wait a minute. We're doubling every time we do it. We have 200 people, and I make the decision then. Maybe this is a conference. Like maybe this can be something. And y'all, if you haven't shared, share this now, right? Everybody, stop what you're doing, share this. But I said, let's go full-fledged conference. So first conference we do, 350 people or so. And then from there, something interesting happened. All right. That's 2015 where we do the first conference. 350 people show up. And then 2016, it all is connected. Very pivotal year because this is my church's 20th church anniversary. Again, I assist my dad. 20th church anniversary. We're trying to do it big this year, banquet at the Ritz-Carlton, the whole nine. And it became clear to me that I couldn't successfully do my conference and do what I needed to do at the church and make that what it's supposed to be without something suffering. So I made the tough decision, the horrible business decision, right? To say, I'm not going to do my conference this year. I'll do it again in 17.
Wow.
And I'm going to push the church. I do that. I make up my mind. I've lost my little momentum. I'll start over. Maybe we'll do 175 in 2017. People are gonna go and scatter to other events. I
Mm-hmm.
just try again. Well, for whatever reason, God overheard that conversation and He decided to do something different. And we went from 350 people in 2015 to no event in 2016 to 1,500 people in 2017.
Wow.
God got in it, breathed on it, and it was crazy. 1,500 people. And then from there, it was on. So we did 1,517. We did 3,000 in 18. We did 5,000 plus in 19, maxed out the space. And now we sit anxiously anticipating what God's going to do next. Of course, COVID and the pandemic has changed the way we view
Mm-hmm.
gatherings and events. You know, are you going to be comfortable in the next few months in one room with, now, mind you, it's not 5,000 people from Atlanta from around the block.
Sure.
Last in 19, we had 5,000 plus from 49 states and 22 countries.
Wow.
So it's literally a global gathering. So how long is it going to take for people to be comfortable being in close quarters with people, not just from around the corner, but from around the planet? So we're working through that. But as you said in your question, we've tried to expand and we've incorporated um, all kind of stuff. Spirit and Truth came out of the conference, which is our weekly ministry. We ministered to close to 3 million people now
Mm-hmm.
through Spirit and Truth. You've got our YLC network, where we're now broadcasting other ministries, other pastors, other churches on our platforms and giving them an opportunity to expand and increase their reach and their visibility. So you got all of these things that have come from it. And as far as what the ultimate vision is, I don't even know if I'm qualified. Well, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I had a conversation. We started at 8. I ended another meeting going on even now in another part of our offices
Mm-hmm.
um, about what the future and the ultimate vision looks like. So all I can say on that is stay tuned, and we'll see. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. That's the best
Yeah.
answer I can give.
And that's an amazing story. And to your point about you saying you decided to do what you needed to do for your home church and for your dad
Mhm.
in 2016, right?
Yes,
In
2016.
2016. That has kind of been my mantra since I was a young woman. I moved to New York. I was very young, 19, 20. And after being there a while, it was after Hurricane Katrina. And I mean, of course, I was 19, so my parents were supporting me. And after a while, I just felt bad because I was like, I can't be here with a clear conscience, living my best life. And I know that my parents are struggling in their ministry right now due to, a natural disaster. So it was always my thought that if I go and help my family and serve my family, God will take care of the things that my heart desires.
Yeah.
He will make up the rest. And that is just a pure example to that sentiment. I believe that God honors your willingness, as we talked about faithfulness in the last segment. You're willing to be faithful without a motive,
Mhm.
without, an ulterior trying to get somewhere or trying to, do something
That's
for
the key.
yourself,
That's the
that
key.
He's going to bless you for that.
That's my dad
I
says
do
all
believe that.
the time that God knows how to balance the books.
Mm-hmm.
God, no, you're gonna take an L over here. They're not gonna do right by you. They're gonna take advantage of you, but that's fine because God knows how to balance the books.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you spoke a little bit about the YLC TV. Now
Mhm.
tell me, if you can, I know, stuff be super, under wraps and you can't always reveal stuff, but tell me, will you be expanding programming as far as different kind of Christian programming. Now, most of what I've seen have been, ministries, which I love. I love to see people getting the exposure that they deserve and may not have otherwise had access to. But do you see it turning into, a situation that causes all sorts or promotes, supports all different types of Christian, I don't want to say entertainment, but I guess in some areas it will be entertainment.
I think the best answer to that question is this. I'm just waiting on you to let me know when
What are you talking about?
you want to put Churchy Chats on YLC TV. I'm just
Don't
that's the answer. I'm waiting on you
listen.
to submit
Listen.
the application and say, hey, I want to put my show on YLC TV
I'm
networks.
doing it tonight. I'm doing it tonight. Soon as
You
we get off
plan,
here.
I'm not.
I'm not playing either.
All right. Because I would love the vision to answer. Yes, the vision, and we're working on some original content now. The vision is to absolutely have other things, talk shows, comedy, all kind of stuff on the platform. That is what we're doing it for. Of course, ministry is going to be the foundation. That's how it's that's
Absolutely.
the core. But the whole concept of the ministry is, well, the whole concept, I'm sorry, of the conference and everything we're doing, the brand is ministry, media, and marketplace. We named our facility the M3 Center for those reasons. So the
Okay.
network should reflect ministry, it should reflect media, and it should reflect marketplace. So absolutely. I'm serious. I would love to have Churchy Chats on with the weekly broadcast. And what we've shown is that there's tremendous growth and a whole new audience that reaches on YC. In fact, in the comments, do y'all want Alicia to have a broadcast on YC? If you do it, like if she did, would y'all watch? Would y'all push it? Would y'all hype it up? Say
My
something.
mom is already on here talking about, yes, Mark. That's my mom.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I'm
Let me
telling
say that I appreciate that, and I'm going to go on and tell this quick story because it feels like it belongs here. Someone had spoken with me. I had been in the works with someone to get Churchy Chats on a network of sorts, and things just didn't work out, and you have to listen to your spirit, and sometimes you be like, Holy Ghost, why are you pulling me back? Why, things just didn't go together. And I
you.
was
Yep.
like, well, we journey forward. That's what we do. I felt like I had his permission to journey forward on my own, but not to journey forward with this other situation. Not that it was bad, it just wasn't meant. And I want to say that I am excited about the possibility of Churchy Chats being on YLC TV. And thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Oh, I see the comments. Yes. Journey forward. Yes. 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 Absolutely. I would share. That would be dope. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's go.
So it
Let's go.
sounds like we're on to something.
We're gonna submit the application as soon as we get off, and
I'm on top of that. As soon
I'm
as we
approving.
press
I'm
end
approving you
broadcast,
now.
I'm
I
in
just
there.
submit the paperwork. I'm approving you now in front of
See, okay.
everybody's on here.
And see,
So
y'all have the proof that I've been approved.
submit. I'm serious. Submit the paperwork. They'll help you decide what time slot, and then we can start next week. So the ball's in your court.
I'm ready. I'm
Damn.
mind blown, but I'm ready.
There we go.
Absolutely. I truly appreciate that. I really do. Um, what was I about to say? Oh, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we're going to come back and just let Elder Mark give some words of encouragement to our Churchy Chats audience, tell you where to find him all over social media and good stuff like that. And then we're going to wrap up this good Churchy Chat. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Deal.
Churchy Chats is now airing on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow on all platforms.
Okay, Elder Mark. So, in the last couple of episodes of season one, I decided that it would be nice for our guests to just, share a word of encouragement with the audience, especially, in the times that we are in. Sometimes it's hard for us to say we're struggling. Sometimes we don't want to put that out there, but we're still kind of looking for something somewhere. And I feel like anytime we have the opportunity to uplift, no matter what venue or what outlet we use, we should absolutely use that opportunity to do that. So if you just have a few words of encouragement, please share them with our Churchy Chats audience and then tell everybody where they can find you all over social. Although I know you're the superstar, but for those for those who need to know where to find you, I want them to be able to do that.
Well, again, let me close the same way I started, and that is by telling you, number one, how tremendously grateful I am for you to share your platform and your opportunity with me. And with that in mind, what I would say to everyone that's watching by way of encouragement is that I think, and this is something that's kind of been on my mind lately, I think it's important that we remember the scripture, many are called, but few are chosen.
Hmm.
And I think that what I have to share is simply this: the most frustrating thing for somebody that's been chosen is to wake up and realize that they're surrounded by people that have only been called. And what I would say to you, those of you that know you have been chosen by God for such a time as this, for such an assignment as this, for such a moment as this, I would challenge you that this is the time. We're getting ready. We're knocking. We just had daylight savings time. We sprang
Hmm.
forward. We are knocking on a new season. We are knocking on spring. And I think that this is the perfect time for you to do spring cleaning, do an assessment, do an inventory of who you've allowed into your space. And this is, hear me clearly, this is not just an opportunity for you to kick everybody out that's not
Hmm.
where you are, not on your level. I think that we sometimes glamorize that in our preaching or teaching without realizing that that is a system or a cycle of just unhealthy relationship. Something's wrong if you're always having to throw people out of your life. At some point, you have to say, well, wait, what process, what vetting process, what screening process am I employing before I let people in? So this is not an admonition for you to throw everybody out, but this is an opportunity for you in this spring cleanup time, realizing that you've been chosen, to say, God, help me connect with other chosen people. Maybe the people in my life that are not on my level, maybe they're here because God's going to use me to bring them up. Maybe they're
Hmm.
here because God's going to use me. I have the privilege of elevating others, but I cannot elevate them until I make some other connections with people that are where I'm going and people that believe like I believe. So, my closing challenge, my closing remark, my closing push is for you to connect in this season with other men, other women that are chosen as well, that will push you to greater, that will cause you to refuse to settle, that will stir something up in you. When Mary and Elizabeth came in contact with each other, what was in them both began to leap, right? That
Yes.
baby began to jump because I recognize that what's in me is connected to that which is in you.
Amen.
We're both carrying something that's been chosen. And so that would be my advice, my closing push at the end of this wonderful time that we've had together. Let this be your year. Let this be your season. Let this be the day, the time, whatever you want to do, however you want to phrase it, that you ask God to connect you with other chosen people. Because the most frustrating thing for somebody that's been chosen is to realize that they're surrounded by people that have only been called. This is your
Mm.
season to seek out the chosen. That's my closing word.
Amen. Amen. And thank you for that. I think a lot of times, in the church, specifically the black church, excuse me, we kind of push that, get away from people and all of that. And I think that can in sometimes even cross the line of being a little toxic
Absolutely.
because, it's like that is not everybody in your life's mission. You know what I mean? That's not how this goes. And at what point are we something to somebody to make them better? At what point, do we become the person that's supposed to help somebody along instead of cutting them off? And
Absolutely.
again, as you said, there needs to be a vetting process as well because after so long, if you have so many bad situations in your life, then I don't know if I'm blaming the people. But
Ab-
how are we, keeping our gates?
Absolutely. You and
So
everybody.
that wasn't everybody.
Yeah.
So, that's a problem that you have to, kind of put in check. But I really appreciate you being here tonight. I really appreciate
Thank
us
you.
having a candid, open conversation about just ministry and all of this good stuff, everything that God is doing in your life and in the life of YLC and all of that stuff. I'm excited. I am happy for you. I am happy to now be connected to you.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it can only, get better from here. That's where I am with it.
Yeah. I'm excited and I look forward to the future. And I cannot wait to see you soon.
That sounds great. Listen, before you go, tell people, I know you have a couple of, places they can follow you and stuff like that. Tell us how we can be a part of what you're doing and what YLC is doing.
Well, I hope that everyone will follow me right now on Instagram at M Moore Jr. As you see it right there. There it is on next to my name at M Moore Jr. MMOOREJR. You can reach me there on Instagram, and then I certainly hope that you will subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/YLCTV. You can just go on YouTube and search YLCTV and subscribe today. And then if you want to get some of the resources, we were talking earlier about some of the trainings and tools that we're offering pastors and preachers to navigate into the digital space. Go to ministrygoalsdigital.com and you can download our digital ministry blueprint, and it will be a tremendous help for you in navigating this new digital space.
Thank you for all that you're doing with that as well, because that is definitely a feat that somebody had to take on. And thank you for doing that. Thank you again for being on Churchy Chats tonight. I hope we can have you back at some point. We would love to have you back to chat it up.
Let's put the next episode on YLCTV.
Listen, I'm down like four flat tires, so I am going to get to work when we get off of here. But thank you again, Elder Mark. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking the time to
No problem.
come on Churchy Chats.
No problem. I'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Every blessing.
Take care.
So, we had an excellent conversation, and as you all know, Churchy Chats usually has a little bit of, a hot topic. Well, usually that's the whole show, right? Hot topics. But we've been doing things a little bit differently. But before we go tonight, I know this is something that has been talked about, exhaustively. But I do want to just, give my little 2 cents, and then I'm going to be done with it. So, as all of you know, there was a video released of gospel artist Kirk Franklin, sharing some choice words with his son. And a lot of people have had their say, and, why not? So, first, I want to start by saying I've seen a lot of people say that um, we shouldn't be judging him. And that is absolutely right. I don't know if I just haven't seen that part of it, but I have legitimately not seen any post that was trying to cancel Kirk Franklin. I haven't seen any post that, was trying to speak negatively of him or even to cancel him. The cancel culture is a big thing now. So I don't know if what I've seen has been an attempt to counter, the cancel culture before it could even get started, possibly. But I haven't seen anything that has attempted to cancel Kirk Franklin or even really been judgmental. But what I have seen quite a bit is us justifying the situation. Now, let me say this. No, we can't stand in judgment. That's not what we do. We don't stand in judgment as Christians. But we also don't have the liberty, because we are Christians, because we do have a standard, right? We do have a responsibility. We do have a level of accountability. We cannot necessarily, no, not necessarily, we cannot in any way, shape, or form condone or justify less than stellar behavior. And I think that's been my disappointment with most of the comments and things that I've seen. No, he doesn't deserve to be judged. But in our attempt not to judge him, are we justifying his actions? I've seen a lot of people say that the son deserved what he said, what his father said to him. That got me to thinking, he may have deserved it, but may I raise the question or suggest to you that just because we deserve something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Those things are not always in agreement. What we deserve and the right thing to do are not always in agreement. And that's just a reality. And I don't think that we think of it like that. But that's the truth of the matter. Today I saw a post and it said, we should not be judging, but he also does not get a pass. None of us get a pass. But so many people I've seen comment and say, so y'all saying y'all don't cuss, or you never cussed your children out. He's a grown man. He can handle it. All of that, or he provoked him. All of that may very well be true, but that doesn't still necessarily mean that the response was the right one. Again, I'm not judging him. I'm just saying that it doesn't equal that was the right thing to do. I have a question. A lot of people, a lot of Christians, we like to say only God can judge, and we like to say that we are only human, which are true statements. But at what point, and I want you all to chime in the comment section, at what point are those statements, only God can judge me, and we're only human, become a cop-out? At what point do we realize that is a statement of the spiritually immature? That gives us a pass, and it allows us to stay in our foolishness and stay in our mess by saying, God is still working on me, and he's not done with me yet. That's true. But to me, that is for the spiritually immature. It's a cop-out. When are we going to grow up spiritually and take responsibility for the things that we do and say? And I want you all to understand, I'm not picking on Kirk, and this is going to sound bad, but I really don't care that he cussed his son out. But the response that I've seen from Christians has me slightly concerned, because are we to condone this behavior? Are we to not challenge our brothers and sisters in Christ to be better and to do better? I don't want anybody in my life to allow me to remain in a place that I shouldn't be. So, Brother Kirk, we love you. Yes. We know that what we saw was not a result of a one conversation. Clearly, we know that there's a backstory that none of us know. I don't judge you, but there has to be some sort of accountability, not just for him, for all of us. I've seen so many comments about people cussing their children out, and how people don't understand if you don't have children, or, just a lot of different comments that I'm not sure I'm fully understanding. I think, I don't know. I don't know. I'll move on to my next point. A few people even said that he's just a choir director. I've seen this comment a couple of times. He's just a choir director. So he's not a pastor. He's not a preacher. Why are people tripping? Well, I did not think that being a preacher or a pastor was the only office or the only Christians that were held to a higher standard. As Christians, we are responsible. We have to be accountable for our actions. Forget being a pastor. Forget being a preacher. At what point do we as Christians raise our standard and not just keep a standard for people in high places? And again, I have no desire to judge Mr. Franklin. Clearly, it's a situation that has been long, deeply rooted, and I pray that they get all the help that they need and that they can reconcile their situation. I really do. And my speaking on it was to more speak about the situation than the person in the situation. But come on, y'all. We have to have some level of accountability and responsibility. And for me as a Christian, to call you out is not necessarily judgment, but we don't want to be called out. We want to do what we want to do, and we want to wear our discrepancies as a badge. I've seen people commenting on several posts about, oh, I cuss at my children too. It's all right. He deserved it. Pardon me? Now, let's not do that. Can we not do that? Can we agree that there is still a level of responsibility and accountability, and that this could have, in some areas, tarnished his witness? I pray not. But we cannot ignore the fact that when things are exposed, that our witness can be tarnished. Not to the church. I'm not talking about to the church now. I'm talking about to those that we can reach for Christ. So I would love to continue this conversation with you offline, but I did just want to express a little bit of my confusion in this whole thing. While I have, again, and I know I keep saying this, I have no desire to judge Kirk. None whatsoever. But people are just so proud that they cuss their children out. People are so proud that they use foul language. When did we start wearing our discrepancies and those things that are less than beautiful as a badge, and we were wearing it with pride? That's not what we do as Christians. The reason why we call each other out is because we care. The reason why we call each other out is because it's called accountability, and it's our responsibility to one another to be better, to do better. And that is what we need to do. Don't judge, but also don't justify and condone less than stellar behavior. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Thank you for sticking around to hear my thoughts on that. And like I said, I'll be happy to continue that conversation on social media. I just wanted to give that 2 cents. You know, we are required to extend grace, but that doesn't alleviate us from the responsibility first to God and then to one another. So I hope that you have been able to see this thing just a little bit differently from my vantage point. Thank you for tuning in to Churchy Chats tonight. I would like to again thank our guest, Elder Mark Moore. And next week we have an amazing show coming up. I hope you all are ready. I'm doing something called Fourth Tuesday Fitness. So next week we're going to be working out. Pray for me because I've been a little bit off since COVID, but we're going to get it back together. We're going to have a fun time working out, working on our bodies and working on our health. And I'm super excited about having a show for the first time, kind of like that. So I hope you'll tune in. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and on Twitter. Connect with us in any and every way that you can. And we will be right back here next week, same place, same time on Churchy Chats with the Church Girl. Good night.